YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more NFL position rankings predicting the upcoming season. We did plenty of these, plenty more to come. This video is for defensive linemen from 3-4 defenses. We did do nose tackles, so not including the nose tackles. We did nose tackles for 3-4 defenses. We did 4-3 defensive tackles. Plenty more of these to come. But 16 defensive linemen ranked today. Subscriber goal is at 40K. Please help us out by subscribing. Daily sports content, full coverage in season with recaps, power rankings updated each week, predictions, score predictions, plenty more. So hopefully you can join us for that. Click on that like button. We much appreciated. Check out our Twitter, also a link in the description. But let's get into these rankings. 16 of these 3-4 defensive linemen or hybrid defensive linemen ranked. 16 down to 13. Let's discuss them. Darius Philon from the Cardinals comes in at 16. I think somewhat underrated. Not really enough appreciation maybe around the fans and people around the league that are covering the league. Pretty solid with the Chargers, now with the Cardinals. I think he can fit in pretty well there. As a defensive lineman, I think he gets a good amount of pressure, more pressure than you think probably, and he's still young, so he can continue to get better. I think it was a good addition to that Cardinals defensive line. And then just missing the cut I wanted to mention was Derek Wolfe, who I wanted to squeeze in here from the Broncos. Used to be higher up on this list a few years ago. Hasn't really been the same, but I still believe he can get back going with that, especially with Vic Fangio there now. But he's the one that just missed the cut here. Henry Anderson at 15, pretty productive year last year. A little surprising, honestly, how well he played. So if it was based off last year, probably a little higher in this. But predicting this year, I think, some of the production could go down because the other defensive linemen on that team, really, Quentin Williams can move around pretty much anywhere. If they're supposed to start Williams at nose tackle, if they stick him there and don't move him from there, that's just really stupid in my opinion. They need to move him around like they did at Alabama. So I think I think they will, because he can get some pressure there, and that will take maybe some reps, snaps away from Anderson. And then I think guys like Nathan Shepard could step up a little bit, liked him a lot from last year. So a little more splitting going on means a little less production, just a prediction. Delvin Tomlinson, but he's still in the top 16. Delvin Tomlinson at 14, mainly just a run stuffer, but not a nose tackle. Has played some snaps at nose tackle, but they kind of just want to keep him at that D tackle spot in a 3-4, while putting Dexter Lawrence at that nose tackle spot, and then they have B.J. Hill as well. They're on the other opposite side of Tomlinson. So that's a pretty good defensive line for the Giants, especially for the future. Young, very good 3-4 defensive line. Tomlinson does a good job stopping the run. Like I mentioned, he's young. He's proven he's a pretty promising young talent there. 13's Michael Pierce, another one that's mainly a run stuffer, kind of played inside, and they slide him out a little bit. The production won't show if you're really going to look at the stats compared to some of the other guys, but he's a key piece to that Ravens defensive line. Now we're on to rankings 12 down to 9. Number 12, we talked about B.J. Hill. Here he is. I already expect him up here as a second-year guy. Really good rookie season. I liked him a lot in the pre-draft process. Thing with him is you expect him to stop the run. He does. And with his size, he's able to actually get pressure too, which is kind of a bonus. That's pretty impressive to me. He comes in at 12 in just a second year. 11 to be Michael Brockers. I think Brockers maybe expected a little better year last year, but still solid. And I think he'll be better this year than he was last year. I think them adding Sue kind of messed with things a little bit, because I know they played him all Brockers, Sue, and Donald at the same time, but they were kind of trying to identify Sue's role there because it was a little bit different defense that he was used to. So moving guys around quite a bit, they kind of messed things up. I think Brockers better without him. They do have Franklin Myers that they like a lot, so that actually could, if they use him more, could bring down Brockers' reps, but I don't think so. He'll come in at number 11. Matt Ioannidis from the Redskins. Another one of those underrated guys, not talked about enough. Another one that gets pretty solid pressure. On that 3-4 D line, he's opposite of Jonathan Allen. So it almost feels like they got two defensive ends there on that 3-4 D line, which I like. Ioannidis, he pretty young, promising talent, gets pressure. People are sleeping on him, so he's at number 10. At number 9 is Deshaun Hand from the Lions. One of these hybrid defenses. The Lions sometimes give different looks. So almost looks like a 3-4, 4-3. They got one pass rushers on the line, one's off the ball. And Deshaun Hand is a guy that really, to me, isn't an edge rusher. I just like him at the end spot on the D line. So I thought he fit in on this video. Could stop the run, gets after the quarterback, and pretty solid year early in year last year. Wish he gets more reps. Hopefully they continue to increase his reps. there in Detroit. Now they're adding some pretty good talent, but he's a big part of the future there. Can't wait to see him already in the top 10 for this year. Now we're down to 8 to 5. Number 8. These are the big boys up here, the top 8. Number 8 is going to be Leonard Williams of the Jets, so the second Jets player we've seen. Expected a little more from Leonard Williams last year. Didn't really get what we expected. Still solid, though. I think he'll step it up a little bit this year. The defensive end in the 3-4 there. Would like a little more pressure to the quarterback, but again, I think he does that. But at the same time, we're going to see some more action from some of the other guys, like I was talking about Henry Anderson. But I don't know if it really reduces Leonard Williams' role. I think he's a key part to that. We'll see how Greg Williams uses him. But I got him at number 8. Number 7, Stephon Tuitt, who I think is a dominant defensive lineman. He just needs to stay on the field 100% of the time. Nothing serious in terms of injuries, but in and out sometimes, and then misses a game here and there. But even with that, he's pretty dominant. And, I think if he sticks it out whole season, he's right there with their other defensive linemen, not far off. The other Steelers defensive lineman who we'll talk about. But Tuitt, I think, is maybe another underrated one. He's pretty darn productive when he's in. Jonathan Allen at 6, so the second Redskin on the list. I think a step up for him. He's shown us that he can play. Just waiting for him to take that major step because why am I expecting that? Because he was a top tier prospect. He just dropped a little bit because injury scare. He's good to go now. So I expect him to be that top prospect. Beauty with him is stop the run, but he gets after the quarterback good amount too. I expect him to do that this year. I think a big breakout for him. Now the top 5 I think separates itself too because it's guys that kind of, proven year after year, they're consistently dominance, pretty much. Maybe all these guys except for one have done that over the last several years in terms of the top 5 here. Jarrell Casey's one of those guys that has been dominant year after year for the Tennessee Titans. What I like about him is not only can he stop the run and get after the quarterback, he can play multiple positions on the D-line too. It's a guy you almost can play at nose tackle, which could play there until Jeffrey Simmons is healthy too. So they got quite a bit of flexibility down there on the D-line. But Casey, hopefully the injury at the end of last year doesn't affect him. Don't think it does, but he's been dominant. It's pretty impressive. He's consistently a Pro Bowl talent. So he's in at 5. Now we're going to see the top 4, and I'll discuss them. Number 4 is going to be Cam Hayward, so another Steelers defensive lineman, and maybe a little better 2 years ago than last year, but still a dominant season. 2 years ago was an insane season. And it's 100% possible he plays at that insane level again. You expect him to. I expect him to. Stops the run, gets after the quarterback. To me, the Steelers secondary, I always keep waiting for their secondary to get better, for them to get better there in the offseason. Maybe a little bit here and there they do. But basically what I'm getting at, the secondary is really not that good. But this defense executes because the front 7, but mainly because the defensive line, guys like Hayward and Tuitt, but Hayward leading the way, is that dominant where the secondary, I don't want to say it's weak. It's not weak, but the secondary kind of being, I think, average to below average doesn't really get exposed because of guys like this. J.J. Watt at number 3. Another productive season from last year, even though I don't think he's really the same as he was a few years ago. Maybe that's aging, even though he's not old, and then injuries over the years taking part, but still, not even though he's not the same, because maybe you can consider him, I think at one point I considered him number 1 player in football. He's not quite there. He's not there anymore, but it's okay because he's still dominant. I think we can start seeing a slow, slight decline here as we go still, but still going to get the sacks, still going to get the pass deflection, still pretty dominant. Most people think him as a pass rusher, and that's just a compliment to him because he's technically in that Texans 3-4. There's 2 outside linebackers. Those are the pass rushers. J.J. Watt is not an outside linebacker, so that's pretty impressive. Number 2, like I mentioned, the top 5 has these guys separate themselves because they've been dominant for multiple years, several years before this. Akeem Hicks, I guess, is that one guy that hasn't been for several years. The improvement from this guy is just absolutely wild, insane. But he's all the way up here because last season, and this is not based off last season, but that kind of helps me, watching them helps me determine what's coming ahead. And Akeem Hicks was elite last season. I don't really see a reason for change. If there is change, I actually somehow, some way, he actually can get better because he's shown crazy improvement over the years. He was pretty much nothing on the Patriots and the Saints, and he's a whole different person. And he's a whole different player. Even his the way he plays, the way that the speed that he plays it, even for a big guy, the intensity, and even his body. He looks like a totally different person than he used to be. So I expect him to be dominant again. I thought Hicks was the best player on the Bears defense last year. Khalil Mack is the best player in general, but based off last year, I thought Hicks was. A guy that's on a nose tackle but can play the nose tackle, can line up right next to Goldman and stop the run. And he gets pressure. That's kind of the thing people don't talk about enough. He didn't get the sacks, but pressure is very important. Might be more important because he caused quarterbacks to do stupid things. And doesn't get enough appreciation for that. So he comes in at number 2. And then, surprise, surprise, Aaron Donald's at 1. The total package, you can argue he is the best player in football. If not, he's second behind a quarterback because the quarterback's the best position in football. So that would be the only reason he's not. But, I mean, what could you say? Elite run stuffer, elite pass rusher as a non-pass rusher, as a non-edge rusher. A guy that can slide in, stop the run. But I like him at the D end. In that 3-4 as well. That's not really, what else can you say? It's just pure dominance and still young. Still could he actually get better? I don't know what better is, at this point. So I guess, like I said, there was gaps, like as soon as you got to the top 8, then as soon as you got to the top 5, and there's probably one. With Aaron Donald has his own, he's on his own tier, his own gap. So that's how good he is, but nothing surprising. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this. If you missed it, we talked about defensive tackles in the 4-3, so if you're trying to figure out why some guys aren't in here, maybe they're in that list. And then nose tackles from a 3-4 or hybrid defenses have their own list as well, kind of splitting them up. It's pretty cool to see who plays what and what to expect for this season, so that's why I do it. We're going to rank everything pretty much, though, and predict the upcoming season, and then we got full coverage in season. Cannot wait. So much during the season that I just love doing, love covering the NFL. Hopefully you can join us for that. Hopefully you can subscribe to the channel. You much appreciate it. Thanks for watching. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.